In this video, we're going to learn how to export JPEGs from Lightroom, or any other kind of file format for that matter. But JPEGs is commonly something that we would export from Lightroom. You see here I'm in my grid view. I have all of my images showing. Some of these are flagged, some of them are not. Typically for an assignment, I would have 10 images flagged. I'm going to switch my filter to show me just the flagged files. There they are. And now I'm going to select all of those images by doing Command A or Edit Menu, Select All, same thing. So when I export, only what I select is going to get exported, so I want to make sure I have all the right images selected. Now that I have that, I have two options. I can go to the File menu and choose Export right here, or I can go down here to the Export button. Either one is going to do the same thing. When I go to that, I'm going to get a dialog box that allows me to choose a number of things. First of all, where am I going to export these to? I could go to the same folder as the original photo. I could choose a specific folder. I've got a few presets here. I'm going to go to specific folder, and then I'm going to choose that specific folder. Now, for our class, I'm going to go to an exports folder. For the case of College Edu page, I'm going to go to my COD photo folder, into my camera files, into my particular semester and class and this project, and eventually I find my way to my critique folder, and this is where I'm going to export these. If you're watching this from one of my other schools, Columbia College, SAIC, we would probably just put this in our regular exports folder, or wherever you decide these should go. You could put them on the desktop for that matter. Wherever you know that they're going, that's fine. So I'm going to choose this destination folder. That's where this is going to go. And in the future, if you last exported to a particular place, that will come up as the location. Otherwise, you can pop that open. It'll show you a list of recent locations that you could go to. I'm also going to put these in a subfolder, and that subfolder will be called JPEGs. You can name it whatever you'd like as long as you know what it is. Existing files. If Lightroom was to run into another file by the same name in the same location, what do you want it to do? I just say, hey, at that point, ask me what to do. I know it's not going to happen in this case, but in case it happens, pop up a little thing and ask me like how to handle that. Rename, if you want to rename your files as you export, you could rename them right here. You can see actually the last things that I did an export for was images of the Neowise comet, and so that name came up. In this case, I've already got these named properly. I'm not going to export with a different name. That's fine. Here is what is quite critical. Your image format. We're going to export as JPEGs. Very common that we would do that, convert to JPEGs for a critique or something like that, but know that you could also export as a PSD, Photoshop document. You could export as a TIFF file, as a PNG, as a digital negative file, DNG is a non-proprietary RAW file type, or whatever your original file type is. In my case, that would be a Canon CR2 RAW file. If I wanted to keep them in that format, I could export them that way. But I'm choosing JPEG. And when you choose JPEG, you have the option of a quality setting. Now, a lot of people misunderstand this and think that the quality should be all the way up at the top. Yes, we love high quality, right? But that's kind of defeating the purpose of a JPEG, which is to make the image file format smaller. I will tell you that honestly, as far down as 60 or even maybe a little bit lower than that, your image is still going to look really good. Just by default, generally speaking, I have it set to 75. When you export JPEGs for being online, not for printing, you would want to export them as sRGB color space. That's a web-safe color space. Your colors will still look accurate when we see those images online through a browser. Do you want to resize your images? Well, that's a good question. If you were exporting these for the sake of turning them in for, let's say, an online juried photography exhibition, competition of some kind. Those sorts of things may have a specific size requirement, and here's where you could do that. Let's say I have a juried exhibition and they say, we would like to have JPEGs that are 2,000 pixels at their longest dimension. So I would turn on Resize to Fit, I would choose Long Edge, and then in the pixels area I would put in 2,000. Generally, if it's something that's going to be looked at on screen, I would keep the resolution at 72, but to be honest, that's kind of an irrelevant number. What really matters is how many total pixels you have across the image. Now, for the sake of our class, for critique, it's not really going to matter to upload to a Google Drive. I'm going to turn Resize off, but just know that that is there. We're not going to do any additional output sharpening. We're not going to do anything with metadata. Watermarking, you could add a watermark to your image at this point. I don't want you to do that for the sake of class, but this is a great place where I will add a watermark with my name if I ever want to, let's say, give a client initial JPEGs to choose from for the package that they're ordering, let's say for wedding photography or portrait photography, etc. So that they're not just going to take my JPEGs and use those without paying me. They'll see those JPEGs and then choose the ones they want at full resolution. And then down here, what do you want Lightroom to do when it's all finished? Nothing. I like to say show in Finder. In other words, when it's all done exporting, it's going to pop up a Finder window to show me those images where they are, that they're done. So that's what I'm going to do, is show in Finder. At this point, I'm going to hit export. Now, when I do, I'm going to watch a progress bar in the upper left corner until it's completely done, which is probably going to happen pretty fast. Of course, now that I say that, I'll jinx it. It'll take a while. But what we're looking for up here is this progress bar, export 10 files. And basically one by one, Lightroom is going in and taking each image, converting it to a JPEG, resizing it, renaming it if I chose to do so, adding a watermark if I chose to do so, and sending it to that folder. And once it's done, should happen here in a few seconds, it's going to pop up a Finder window. There it is. And here are my 10 JPEG files. They're in my critique folder. They're in a folder called JPEG, so I don't get them mixed up with anything else. There are the images that I had exported, and now I can submit those wherever I need to.